I want to thank Mary, Michelle, and Michael for a great first panel. Well, we have the DEI dogma sweeping the entire country, and then we have California. As you all know, in 1996, California became the first U.S. state to pass a constitutional ban on race-based affirmative action via a citizen initiative known as Proposition 209. Over the next 28 years, Prop 209 has been challenged by proponents of race-based public policies in courts, through legislation, and on the state ballot. The fact remains that Prop 209 still stands today, but it has not been an effortless enterprise, to say the least. Joining me for this panel are my colleagues, CFER President Frank Xu, CFER Executive Vice President Professor Gail Heriot, and our dear friend Tony Guan of the Silicon Valley Chinese Association Foundation, as well as the Equal Rights for All PAC. All four of us have volunteered for the successful No on ACA7 effort this year, with Gail chairing the campaign. So let me just start with Gail. Tell us about the challenges to Prop 209, especially this year's failed ACA7.
Okay, I think most of you remember Prop 209 amends the California Constitution. It says that the state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, public education, and public contracting. Then you remember 4 years ago, Prop 16. Our legislature tried to repeal that. They actually tried to excise that from the Constitution, but you, the voters, told them no. And we won that overwhelmingly, despite being outspent by more than 14-1. Californians rejected the attempt to repeal Prop 209. And I bet most of the people in this room thought, well, that's that. Of course not. Of course not. This past year, we got ACA7, that is Assembly Constitutional Amendment 7, proposed in the Assembly, quickly passed the Assembly on a strict party line vote. And that's when this group of people, and some of you in the audience, started to actually panic. What are we going to do now? So the first thing I thought of, this was in the fall of this year, what are we going to do to prevent this from getting through the Senate? And we had to think about, what's different about ACA7 as opposed to Prop 16? So how should we attack this differently? And one of the things that is very different is that it was not a straight repeal. Instead, it was tricky, very tricky. You had to read it carefully. What it purported to do was to give the governor the ability to make exceptions to Prop 209. What kind of exceptions? Well, if you read it carefully and think about it, any exception that the governor wants. And so it was worded in such a way that you could fit anything they possibly could want in it. So we were going to need a better voter education program than we needed last time. It's pretty quick to understand. They want to repeal Prop 209. Remember what Prop 209 says. You recite the words, and like the average voter is going to say, no, 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 we don't want to take that out of the Constitution. This one, we thought, well, we need to raise money from foundations so that we can conduct a decent voter education program so people understand that this is really underneath it all just a repeal. And so we made various proposals through CFER Foundation. Also, our ally, the National Association of Scholars, made such a proposal. So that was the first thing we did. And then, because we were going to need more voter education, we did a great job, I think, last time with Prop 16. Even though we were outspent 14-1, we had so many small donations from so many people. A small donation is worth more per dollar, because when a person gives you $10, they're going to vote too, and they're going to know about things. It's not like getting like $100,000 from one rich person who has only one vote. So our program in 2020 was actually very good, But major donors all thought we were going to lose. And so they were not moved. Well, this time around, I went to one major donor first. And he told me no 4 years ago. Lovely man, but he said no. And I said, please, no. Guess what? When he knows that we can win, then he did give something. So that helped us in the Senate because I could slyly drop, we're actually getting major donations now. And I made it clear through back channels who it was. So some members of the Senate knew that this was going to be a little different. We might be a little bit better funded. It wasn't that we weren't going to need the small donations. We always need the small donations. But that's sort of the background. And then at that point, the other big difference between ACA7 and Prop 16 is that we'd already won Prop 16. We'd already done it. So, we had a zillion signatures on petitions back with Prop 16 before it became Prop 16. And the members of the California legislature, I assume they were just laughing at us. They thought, no way in the world you're going to win this. We're going to win. But we proved them wrong. And so we were going into this in a much, stronger position. And so what we needed to do was to make sure they understood we're still here and we're still going to vote no. Much easier in that respect. So we could do things like, people giggled at me, but this works. The photo parade of just people holding little signs that say no on ACA7. If you don't have the fact that in the past we'd already won, they probably would have, completely ignored something like that. But when you can say, look, do you guys remember it was only 3.5 years ago that we beat the pants off you. We're still here. So that, letters, emails. We had a day where we went to Sacramento with our T-shirts. And Tony was going to bring some extra T-shirts. Because it never went on the ballot. They listened to us. We've got extra T-shirts. I'm keeping mine forever. Along with my no on Prop 16 T-shirt. But that's the sort of thing when we're dealing from a position of strength to be able to show them, look, you were surprised, but we really beat you last time. And we even had polls that were taken right after the Prop 16 election that showed it was not a mistake. People understood exactly what that proposition was about. They were not confused. Our opposition was saying, everybody was just confused. But we could show, no, that is not the case. And we also had a couple of other weapons here. Not only, you are going to lose, so don't bother. You are going to alienate the voters who voted against Prop 16. And by the way, I can show statistically that Asian American votes are dropping for Democrats every single election. And that is a key constituency here. On top of that, we had another little threat. And that was, this is California. We all know it's California. We know that the next governor of California is going to be a Democrat. I know that will disappoint some of you, but that's going to be the case. So they're not afraid. They're not afraid that suddenly the Democratic Party is not going to be the majority party here in California. What they are concerned about, though, is not the statewide elections. But while California is deep blue, we have a lot of congressional districts in this state. Some of them are deep blue, some of them are deep red, and some of them are purple. Some of them you don't know whether it's going to go to the Republican or the Democrat. And in those districts, some of them here in Orange County, you put something like Prop 16 on the ballot, and that brings out the conservatives. It brings out the conservatives, particularly the Asian American conservatives, including Asian American moderates who might be drifting a little bit to the right here. And that matters. And they understood, I believe. I asked a friend of mine who's a journalist to write a little piece that says this could cause the House of Representatives to stay Republican. And I put that in front of the faces of the Senate Democrats. And lo and behold, we were talking sense to them. We didn't make the arguments based on principle, not very much. Those are the important arguments, but those were not the arguments that were going to persuade Senate Democrats. Those were not the arguments that was going to persuade the governor. We made the practical arguments. This is not good politics for you. And as a result, we didn't hear from them for a while, so we just kept arguing, and it kept not being assigned to the committee. And finally, it reached late June, it reached the point where it was the deadline for putting it on the ballot, and they didn't do it. Now, that doesn't mean they never will, but I think we're safe for a while. So, yay, thank you all who helped. And I will turn it over.
Frank, tell us in a nutshell, what has CIFR done to expose ACA7 and educate our supporters and Californians in general about this proposal?
Sure. So first of all, I really want to use this opportunity to thank our friend Greg Bird from California Family Council to alert us so that we got to know about this ACA7. Thank you, Greg. So after we got alerted by Greg, CIFR just immediately alerted to all our audiences. And as Professor Heriot said, we needed to form a campaign from some CIFR board members, Wenyuan, and other organizations like Tony Guan and Angie and Jason. So that really helped a lot. I want to bring up one small thing to you. So as Professor Heriot said, the Democrats really concerned about it, actually. And when we talked one office, that's Senator Toni Atkins' office, she is running for governor, right? And they had all the polls. And her staff talked like a Republican the entire meeting. And we were shocked. And basically, they convinced us that keep doing this. And they don't want this to be passed. Because that will put her, maybe 2 years later, in the hot spot because she had to approve some exceptions. And if she disapproved some exceptions, she will be in trouble. So that's very interesting to share with you. And regarding the reason how they decided not to push ACA7 to the ballot, I believe the very existence of CIFR is one of the reasons. Because in the past 3 and 4 years, with the help from California, with the help from Pacific Legal Foundation and the American Civil Rights Project, we challenged several municipals legally, including the City of San Francisco, Alameda County, and the San Diego Housing Commission. So they knew that we are serious, and we are here to stay to watch them. The victory that we stopped ACA7 made me more confident that CIFR has the unique value defending Prop.209, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you, Frank. Tony, what do you think is the role of grassroots organizing in exposing the revival of racial preferences via ACA7 as an example?
Yes. So this current discussion could make me think very deep, actually. So when you talk about grassroots, it's essentially everywhere, for everyone here. So if you tell me you are not grassroots, please don't talk to me. What's the point, right? So grassroots organizing to me actually means everything for any campaign started with the people. Because by definition, right, we don't have the big donors, we don't have the mainstream media supporting us, we don't have any funds from any party. So we're all by ourselves, right? But then the other side is always, even we were doing the right thing, right? We're all by ourselves, grassroots. We're not alone, but We are grassroots, right? So the other side, on the contrary, they always have the big names endorsing them, big donors because they have benefit, they have the interest, and those mainstream medias depicting us as the evil people, the racist, white supremacy, anything you are familiar with. If you have never ever been called by those names, you better work harder. Yeah. So I think it's a badge, it's an honor badge for us, right? So all these campaigns, without grassroots, we cannot scale. Right? So any race is a game of number. You either have money or you have people. Right? So the other side always has money, very big amount of money. And they can hire people. They can do all these news pieces, and they can actually use the big name to tell the peasants, vote for this one, right? Otherwise you're not black or something, right? So they have all the power, but what do we have? All we have is ourselves, right? So by that, for the grassroots and the movements, so we are actually more united by our shared common principle. Like for this case, we are against racial preference policies, right? We believe in equal rights for everybody, regardless your race or skin color, gender, everything. So, but then the fact is, people believing in this, they are in majority, but the energy is scattered. It's gathered in smaller clusters, right? So organizing grassroots is very important in this sense that we need to harness all the energies gathered everywhere and unify them into a very strong force. And this strong force can then materialize in our campaigns. No on Prop.16, no on ACA7, right? So it's always hard, but once it started, man, the power of grassroots movements is unstoppable. Because we ourselves, we are the lethal, the most powerful weapon of our campaigns ourselves. Right? We don't need the money actually, and many of us and the majority of us are not paid at all, and we donate money, and we go out and spend the time talking to people and get more people involved. Right? That's how we scale out any of such a campaign. So if you're talking about those is so right now in my mind there is a picture. Right? You throw a stone into a lake. You can see the ripple, like moving out gradually, right? So if you are running a campaign or you are doing the election, running for a position, you as a candidate, that's the you need to scale out all the energy you have. So organizing grassroots is so important that it actually helps you to scale out. Otherwise, you are one person. How can you talk to tens of thousands of the voters in your district? You can't. You just can't because you have limited time, 24 hours. That's all you get one day, right? You need a core team. With that core team, help you organizing the grassroots and all the volunteers, right? Then fan out. Everybody doing the same thing, doing the multiplication, and make sure it makes our voice louder and louder. So Another feature of the grassroots movement, in if it's well organized, is that it's continuous. Once you have the connection with your with other volunteer, right? This partnership is lasting very, very long. I can see a lot of faces here. When I see them, we smile to each other because we have fought together, and then we have the very precious friendship with each other, and we know we share the same value, same value system, and this lasts forever. Right? Next time when we have another campaign, I'm sure if Professor Heriot is still fighting, she will call me. Frank will talk to me, right? And also I talk to all of friends that I have made during the last like how many years? So many years, right? So we know we're in this together, right? And we are never going to give up. So just a quick example, right? Noam Prop.209, even before C4 campaign team was formally formed, we started the first ever, like I think it's in the history of California, the first ever car rally, because of COVID-19, right? People think so hard on how do we do it safely, but still very loud, right? Then we do the car rally. Everybody stay in the car. How creative that is, right? So we started the first ever car rally. As I recall, it was in front of Cupertino Library, suspect, deep blue area. Can you imagine that? More than 20 cars participated there. How I know that? Because the capacity of the library, not 20, did I make a typo? Yeah, 200 cars, right? So the capacity of the library was 200. And it's full, it was filled up. And a lot of cars still coming in, then they had to go on the street nearby. So ever since we started car rally, so we have broken the silencing wall barriers by the mainstream media because they never wanted to mention us. But then when you have the phenomenal thing rally happening, they just cannot ignore. And what else? So ever since then, every week we have one car rally. It has to be weekend because why? Because we grassroots, we have work. We need to do the full-time job work during the weekdays, right? Then every week until the election day, we start. This is started by the grassroots, and then we with like every new rallies, we added more elements, right? We do social media, we do the stream, and we do the online. Like after that, we do a lot of social media spreading the words, right? So more people realize that okay, this is something going on, and I should be part of it. So those grassroots movements over there, yeah, I would say that's a whole foundation of why Prop.16 won, right? Because it's hard, but then we start from the right place, and we unified for the right goal, for the right reason, and it lasted long until then. We still work with the same people and similar way for the non-ACA7 campaign. And also T-shirts, we visited the senators, and we do the pictures. So it's all by grassroots. Without grassroots, without the volunteers, no matter how good your idea is, who is gonna implement that, right? So yeah, I know it's a time issue. It's always an issue for me.
Thank
so
you, Tony.
let me wrap that up. So we do interviews on candidates every year, right? A lot of candidates. So one of the questions I always ask them is, how are you making sure that you engage volunteers properly? Because if they don't have any idea of how will I engage a volunteer and enlarge the team, that almost guarantee a failed, at least not a very well-run campaign. So I will be giving them advice. So yes, sorry about the time.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you. And Tony, by the way, you should be proud that no on 16 car tag has been spotted in Atlanta, Georgia this morning.
Oh yeah, still?
4 years later.
Wow,
yes.
yeah.
Thank you for all of you, and it's very thought-provoking. We're going to take a 20-minute break, and then we'll come back. We'll have our morning featured speech. Grab some coffee, and if you still haven't had breakfast, I believe we still have some more food in the back.